interesting story in the Boston Herald today. Real deep dive into what went wrong this season. I'm going to have Rob G kind of summarize it, but fingers are pointing at Bill Belichick. Rob G?
Yeah, the Boston Herald, who does great work, one of the few papers out there nowadays that are still putting out consistent journalism, did a deep dive.
Listen to you selling papers up in Boston.
Look,
I love it.
There's like 4 of them left, Rob. You got to give them shout-outs when they deserve it.
But I'm with you with papers that still dig and still do stuff. You know what I mean? Instead of just the generic happy schmappy stuff. Okay, go ahead.
Right. So they did a full, quote unquote investigation on what happened with the New England Patriots this past season in light of them hiring Bill O'Brien. Because, a big talking point coming into this season was who's going to call plays. It's Mac Jones' second season. And they settled on the dynamic duo of Matt Patricia and Joe Judge. Well, according
That's the Joker and the Riddler.
According to a source in and around the Patriots organization, they're putting the blame for this past season's struggles squarely on head coach Bill Belichick. One source told the Herald, quote, "I love Bill, but he screwed us." They didn't use the word screwed, though. And they go and elaborate as to what exactly went wrong. Most of the column actually is almost like a hit piece on Joe Judge, because they're saying that he wasn't respected by Mac Jones, wasn't respected by the other coaches. And in fact, there were multiple instances, according to this report, where Judge, who was the quarterback coach, would try to lend his expertise to other position coaches. And after he would leave, that position coach would have to tell his players, hey, don't do that. That's not exactly how you do it. And it was a big old fiasco in New England.
I will say this, right? You could see when Joe Judge was in New York with the Giants head coaching, you could see his arrogance. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah. So apparently he's still like that. He wasn't humbled by his horrible performance with the Giants. But yeah, I'm not surprised if he was trying to cross coach, coaching players at other positions, and, other coaches were bothered by it. But Rob, first of all, I'll say this. Their defense obviously was a pretty good, and they were 8-9 in a tough division. They had a decent year, even though they didn't make the playoffs. You got to credit the defense to Belichick. The players, of course, but Belichick. But
that's him. He's a defensive coach, and he's done it for decades, Chris. He just has.
He's fantastic on that side of the ball. But, Rob, I think you were with me on this. I know I said it. When they hired Matt Patricia, or made Matt Patricia the offensive coordinator and Joe Judge the quarterback's coach, I knew and said from day one, this is horrible. First of all, it would be bad if you had Tom Brady at quarterback. All right, I don't care who your quarterback, how old, how experienced, how good he was. Having those two be your two offensive guys, primary offensive guys, is a disaster. But to do it when you have a second-year quarterback coming off a rookie season in which it was promising, but obviously he has a lot of room to grow and a lot of things to learn, to put him in the hands of those two, a career defensive coach, Matt Patricia, and a career special teams coach who failed miserably as an offensive coach and head coach with the Giants. Rob, I get why they, like, the article, the parts I read, it's not like blaming Belichick in like he can't coach. It's blaming him for hiring those two or promoting them to the head offensive guys. And I'm with them all the way. That was a horrible move. And really was a disservice and just a miscalculation for Mac Jones.
100%. It just didn't make sense. It's like it reeked of, I know better than anybody. Yep. I'm going to show you that I can put anything and it'll work. Put anything together and it'll work.
Yep.
It didn't make any sense whatsoever to do what they did, because you knew it wasn't going to work out, and it wasn't fair to a young player like Mac Jones. It it reeked of arrogance by Bill Belichick that look at what I've done. I can do almost anything, and it works out. And it was a mistake. It was a big mistake, and I'm not shocked whatsoever that it was a total failure. And again, and the guys that they hired too, just nothing to look forward to, nothing to feel good about, Chris. Nothing to be like, this is genius, or this is smart, or this is ingenious, is what I wanted to say.
You talking about going forward, or
no?
When
He did what he did, like, this is ingenious. Wow, he's doing something no one's ever done. This is fantastic. Wow, I can't believe Bill's doing this. No, it was the exact opposite. It was like this doesn't make any sense, right? Like, everybody saw this. Again, we talk about it all the time. It wasn't a second guess, Chris. It was a first guess.
Absolutely. And Rob, look, we said, and we didn't do this, to shout out head coaches or just coaches, period. But we said it because we believed it. When Jeff Saturday was hired as the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, we said this is ridiculous. It is not that easy. It is not the NBA, not that that's easy, but it's not the NBA and it's not Major League Baseball. You cannot step into the NFL. We're not even in the league,
right?
Absolutely. You can't step into the NFL and just be a head coach because you know football. It's so much more to it than that. And Rob, it's the same thing with being a coordinator. I mean, Bill Belichick essentially took the approach of like a high school coach, where it's like, let's move this guy, he's going to be our receivers coach. He's going to be our quarterbacks coach. He's going to be our offensive lineman coach, when they might not be quote unquote experts at those positions, right? But they know the game, they're coaching, and they can learn it. That's the feeling. Well, that might work in high school, but in the pros, Rob, why in the world would you put a career defensive coach and make him an offensive coordinator?
It doesn't make sense.
And we can see it from here. You're the most successful coach in the history of the NFL, and you didn't know you couldn't just make a linebackers coach or a defensive line coach, whatever he was, an offensive coordinator with the guys they got calling plays now?
Right. It doesn't even make sense. He could have gone out and hired somebody and just did the traditional thing, and it would have been way better. It wasn't like maybe you're getting some offensive guy, Chris, who you're giving the first opportunity to. You're giving defensive guys like Matt Patricia a job that he shouldn't have. Do you know what I mean?
Way.
Like that's the part that didn't make any sense.
No, and you hit it on the head. It reeks of arrogance. And it was arrogance. It was Bill Belichick thinking, I'm smarter than everybody else, and I'll show them. I can put anybody anywhere and we'll have success. Well, how you like it now, Bill?
And it didn't work. I'll tell you that.
No, it didn't. It failed miserably because, Rob, not only did you have a mediocre to bad season, but now we don't know what Mac Jones is. At least after last season, they did make the playoffs his rookie year, but at least after that year, you went into it thinking, okay, Mac Jones is pretty good. Like, we obviously want to see some growth and improvement, but he might be our guy. Do they feel that way now? You have no idea.
No, Mac Jones, you don't feel that way. You're not sure what he is, Chris.
Right.
I think you have more questions now than ever.
Yeah, this was a mess, and, it was arrogance. And the other thing, Rob, and they're bringing in Bill O'Brien as the new OC. Is that the best hire in the world? I mean, there are obviously some hot shots out there, Rob, that are really creative offensively that you could bring in.
It's his guy, from Boston.
The nepotism, I know it's not family
right, but
by blood, but yeah, and I get it, Rob. That's what coaches tend to do. You mentioned it kind of last hour. I mean, they bring in guys they know. They bring in guys they know that can work with them. They'll be comfortable with and things like that. So I get it. O'Brien is a good offensive coordinator. I think this is a good hire. I mean, I'm not saying he's the best guy they could have gotten, but he's a good hire. It'll be a huge upgrade over Patricia and Judge. I don't know what they're going to do with, I don't know if I mean, he was the quarterback's coach. I don't know if he still is for the moment. I can't imagine O'Brien's going to keep him there. But, yeah, I just, Rob, and I talk about, and we're not doing a Belichick segment. I say it all the time. He's coached 9 seasons without Tom Brady. He's made the playoffs twice. And he even with the Patriots, he has a losing record without Brady as his quarterback. So I look, Rob, a lot of his record is unimpeachable. A lot of great coaches, it ends, either so-so or badly. Tom Landry was fired. I think Chuck Noll, it might not have ended, as far as winning games and the record and all that. You have your run. And then generally, you might have some down years before you retire. So I'm not saying anything about his legacy, but I don't think he's going to win another Super Bowl, Rob. Because he's 70? How old is Belichick?
He's younger than we thought, right?
I think
Pete Carroll's the oldest, Chris. Pete Carroll looks great, but I think Pete Carroll is older than Bill Belichick, which you wouldn't.
Yeah, I think we looked at.
Am I right?
Before.
Didn't we?
Belichick is 70, and he's about to be. He'll be 71 in April.
And how old is Pete Carroll? Do we know? 73?
Yeah, he's in his 70s.
Just look, he was 70 before, Chris. Just to check. Are they the same age?
Carroll is
71 already.
71. So he's a year older, basically, than Belichick.
But if you look at those two guys, I mean, Pete Carroll has the gray hair, but he looks great.
And Belichick doesn't look, Belichick
No,
is
but he looks like an older man.
From what I can tell.
You know what I mean, right.
But he's probably only going to coach, I don't know, 5 more years, 6 more years at the most or something like that. I don't think he's going to win another Super Bowl. But I'm sure he is trying like the Dickens. And this wasn't a good move this season. Wasn't a step in the right direction. And Rob, surprisingly, even up there in New England, you had some people questioning him.
Chris, I mean, nobody gets a free pass forever. And time, when there are a lot of people who have maybe said stuff to Bill Belichick and always thought he was so smug, and now once there's a little crack, there's their chance. You know what I mean? To be critical. And I've seen this happen with guys. You know what I mean? You two covering people later on in their careers when there's a crack in there and then people pounce.
All those years you
couldn't say nothing.
You were arrogant.
Yep.
You were, mistreating the media and all that.
It's true.
No, that's a good point. That's a good point because obviously he's not, the most.
He's not the same guy, right? But he's not the same guy
mic.
either. He's not the same clout that he used to have.
Right.